I remember the first time that I did that, my children were very little, and my son, I left him screaming, "No, Mommy, don't go, it's too long." That's how I left. A knife in my heart, and all of you know, it was like, he was churning it, right? We went on our first cruise, and of course you then feel guilty because you see all these other people with their children there, and then you get the itinerary of all the activities that are there, so you feel 10 times more guilty. But let me tell you what happened the third day. I forgot I gave birth. Okay, I'm walking through, I don't have children. It took 3 days, but then I forgot. I am walking through the dining room with my husband. We're holding hands, arm in arm, hugging, kissing. We're lovers again. And it takes a while. It takes 2 days to reconnect. And I'm walking through the dining room, and I look at this family that would have been our family had we taken the kids, and the mother is screaming at the child, "There is no McDonald's in the middle of the Caribbean, and you will eat this fish. Do you understand?" And I look at my husband, we're lovers, and saying, "Oh, thank you that I didn't take the kids. Oh my God." And we stroll on the deck. So once a year, and let me tell you, I have done both vacations. You never stop being a mother. You never stop being a father. Don't tell me how you take the kids and they're in one part and you're in another. You don't ever give that up. And so my feeling is once a year, 1 week vacation, you've got 51 other weeks to do whatever your heart desires, and that's what I want you to do. Now, I know that some people will say, "She's out of her mind. Sure, she can afford it." Let me tell you something. I give you a lot of ideas that cost nothing. You can trade houses with somebody else. Even your house can be a villa in the south of France. You can make believe you're in Rome. I don't care. Without the kids there, you can do whatever you want to do in your house. I had the cutest couple. They have 10 kids, and they're from Ohio, and they said, "You know what? After we listen to your program, why should we go to a cheap motel?" They have 10 kids. They send the kids to the motel, the cheap motel, and they stay and make love in every room of the house. The oldest one takes care, and the kids love it. They've got a swimming pool. They send all the games and toys, and they think it's a wonderful vacation for them, and they enjoy their house. Whole different meaning. Camping takes on a whole different meaning when you can sleep as late as you want, hold hands, make love in the afternoon, and you have no time schedules. That's the most important thing. The way I look at it, it's either pay now or pay later. If you're not willing to take out some money to pay for a temporary escape, to have fun, to have enjoyment, to have laughter, you're going to pay later for a permanent escape, which is going to include divorce, which is thousands of dollars, and it's going to be a miserable experience. Let me tell you about excuses. We took a vacation many years ago to Tahiti, and we were sitting in Bora Bora at the most beautiful hotel that you've ever seen, and we started talking to another couple, an elderly couple that was right next to us having their lunch, and they were telling us about their itinerary. They were so wealthy. I mean, she was dripping in diamonds and jewels, and they were talking about how this is just one stop. They're going to go for about 4 or 5 months around the world, and they're going to see everything there is to see. He had a construction firm just for everybody who was in his company. I mean, they were so rich. I looked at her and I said, "I envy you so much. Ours is only 10 days, and it's going to take us a year to pay it off because we charged the whole trip." And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, honey, don't envy me. Last year, I didn't even know if I was going to be around to come on this trip. I have been so ill. I'm in pain almost every day of my life. It's you that I envy. It's your youth and your health that I envy." And I want you to know, her husband turned to my husband. He looked him square in the eyes and he said, "Let me tell you the best piece of advice that I'm ever going to give you and that you're ever going to hear. The time when you can finally afford a vacation and the time that you die is so little time that the time to take the vacation is when you can't afford it." And I'll tell you, we never forgot that. I literally walked away and say, "Thank you, God, for giving me that message. I really needed that." And then I went back to the ship, and I saw all these passengers, some in their 70s, in wheelchairs, some were blind, and I thought, is this the time to go to the most magnificent place on earth when you can't dance under the stars, you can't water ski, you can't go on the excursions, you can't see the island? I mean, I don't want you to be irresponsible, but you know what? Do it now and worry about paying it later. You know, oh well, if you can't make it, you can't make it. I always hear, someday when the children are older, someday when we make more money. Let me tell you something. I always see these somedays never coming, either because of death, illness, separation, divorce, tragedy, whatever. The someday doesn't come. The someday is now. You know, the day to make that I love you call is now. The time to hug your mate is now. The time to make love is now. It isn't for some future date that may never come. I'm going to teach you how to have a love affair with your mate. Let me talk about energy, because a lot of people say, "I'm so tired. You know, there's a 2-paycheck family, get home at the end of the day. I'm exhausted. I can't put one foot in front of the other. How can we do this?" Let me tell you about time and energy. First of all, tired is psychological and not physical, and I'll prove it to you. Let's just say you were exhausted. I mean, you could not keep your eyes open and you get into bed. You're almost asleep and all of a sudden you hear a knock on the door. And you go to the door and it's an old friend that you haven't seen since high school and you go, oh my gosh! And that person says, I know it's so late, but you know, I was driving and I just took a chance that you were still living here, and you'd say, come on in, oh my God, I can't believe it! And all of a sudden this body that was so exhausted, how is that possible? How could that body that could not move all of a sudden get this adrenaline? You know why? Because the message you sent to your brain is, this is so exciting! I haven't seen you for so long. You're so important to me. You made such a difference in my life back then. Oh my gosh, come in, and I can always catch up in my sleep some other time. What's the message we send to our mate? Oh, it's just you. I gave at the office. I gave the kids, or I gave to the kids. I mean, you know, so we're always giving to strangers what we should be giving to the people that we love. And I'm going to teach you how to change those messages. This is the most important person in my life. This is the person that takes priority, not all these other things. I want to talk about now some of the differences, because this is what gets us in trouble, okay? And here's a statement. Sex gets better with love. Love gets better with sex. You kind of have to think about this for a while, because one is a man's point of view, one is the woman's point of view. Now let me explain to you. A woman needs emotional fulfillment in order to respond to a man sexually. A man needs sexual fulfillment in order to respond to a woman emotionally. Now I know some of you have been taught the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I do not know who came up with that old wives' tale, but I'm here to tell you it's not true. This is a Dear Ann Landers letter, and I've kept this for years. Let me read it to you. Why would any husband adore a messy, disorganized, idle-brained wife? The woman next door brags that the minute her kids could reach the sink and the stove, she taught them to fix their own breakfast so she could sleep. Her house looks like they moved in yesterday. For 2 years she's been saying we're not settled yet. She never cooks a meal. Everything is in cans or frozen or taken out. Yet this slob's husband treats her like a Dresden doll. He calls her poopsie and pet, and he covers the telephone with a blanket when he goes to work so that she can get her rest. On weekends, he does all the laundry and the marketing. I get up at 6 o'clock every morning to fix my husband a farmer's breakfast. I make his shirts because he doesn't like the ones in stores. I bake my own bread and rolls, and I even put on my own tomato juice to please him. My house is spotless. You could eat off the floors. If I ever phoned my husband and asked him to do something, I think he'd faint. He has never even emptied a waste paper basket for me. Once I phoned him at work and asked him to drop by the store and pick up a loaf of bread. He swore at me for 5 minutes. I say, the more you do for a man, the less he appreciates you. What goes on anyway? Signed, the Moose. That's what he calls me. Now, the fact is, she's not idle-brained. She's brilliant. She knows how to make this man feel his masculinity. Remember I told you, when a man feels like that, there's nothing he won't do for a woman. Now let me tell you, and I want to read this because I don't want to forget anything. Let me tell you what a woman needs. She needs kindness, gentleness, devotion, commitment, caring, patience, understanding, and compliments. For a woman, the emotional fulfillment starts with whether you said, I love you in the morning. It begins with whether you call her from work and say, is there anything I can get you, honey, to make your life easier? It's whether you take her out for dinner. It's whether you help with the chores. It's whether you notice a new hairdo or a dress that she's wearing. It's asking her for a date. It's asking her to go away with you. It's making her feel special, important, and needed. If you want a woman who feels sexy and wants sex, she has to have her emotional needs met. Versus what the man needs is, come on over here, you hunka burning love. You want her to respond, it's different. We are not right, we're not wrong, we are different. And that's where the problem lies, because we always expect somebody else to be like ourselves. And see, we keep giving the other person what we need, and you wonder why you get nothing back in return. When you turn around and give the other person what they need, you get everything back in return. And that's, again, another secret of understanding why this program is so different. You know, there are programs out there where they give you the same thing to look at. Well, you're two different people. So this is why we have the men's program to listen to, and the women are not to listen to that. And then we have the women's program, and the men are not to listen to that. I want you to listen to your own programs. What we have in this society is a stalemate. Every single person is looking at their mate and saying, well, you don't give me what I want, so why should I give you what you want? And the other person is saying, well, I don't get what I want around here. My needs aren't fulfilled. Why should I give you what you want?